Welcome to my first video in a new series on taboos in magic. This one's all about piracy and how it affects the industry, and I also actually reached out to a few piracy websites and did get some responses. So if you keep watching to the end of the video, you'll see what they said. Hi guys, welcome back. Brian Crow here. Thank you for joining me again. Today we're going to talk about one of the kind of biggest taboos in the magic and mentalism community, and that is piracy. Before we get into things, there are 2 points that I just want to make nice and quickly. So the first off is I'm actually talking from an outside perspective here. I haven't released anything onto the market, so therefore I haven't had any of my stuff pirated. So I'm purely talking as an outside point of view here. Secondly, I want to make it abundantly clear that my overall thoughts on piracy is that it's wrong, it's bad, and it shouldn't happen. The reason I want to make that clear now is because at some points during this discussion I will be playing the devil's advocate and just discussing some of the points that I found out whilst talking to other members of the community as to why piracy happens. So, full disclaimer, I don't agree with piracy. I think it's damaging for the community. So piracy is the unauthorized use or reproduction of somebody else's work. So this is really prevalent in film, TV, and music. Most people, whether they admit it or not, would have downloaded an MP3 or a film before. There's two kinds of piracy that I want us to just touch on today. So first off, there's the unpaid, things like torrent websites and things like that. And then there's the paid ones, which are all these, you know, mostly like Chinese websites where you spend $1 rather than 50 to get the latest released. Personally, I think the paid ones are much worse for the industry than the free ones, because someone's out there purposely trying to make a profit from somebody else's work. I'm not going to name any of the sources on here because I don't want someone to see this and then try and use a source that I've mentioned to obtain material, because that is not the purpose of this video. I think it's important to talk about who pirates magic and why. So before filming this video, I spoke a lot to people in the community to find out if they pirate, when they pirate, why they pirated. I'm going to put my hands up and say in the past I have done it, and it seems that the reasons and the times that I did it is very common throughout the community. So first off, when I was new to magic, so when I was younger, I used to pirate everything from like Harry Potter films to the latest albums that I wanted. So then it was just natural for me that when I found magic and realised there was a lot of stuff online, I didn't see any difference in downloading magic. I very quickly, in my journey into magic, realised that people putting out magic tend to do it on a very small budget and they're doing it themselves. And when you pirate magic, you often directly impact the person who is putting out, the creator. And I stopped pirating everything just for the sake of pirating it. I now purchase and have purchased everything that I want, and I did go back and purchase a lot of the stuff that I had previously pirated. So I think newbies is a big thing. Newbies are people that pirate a lot. Another common thing is people who just want to know the secret. So a new release is put out, it's not something you want to perform, but you're interested. I personally think that that's not really a good reason to pirate someone's work. That's just looking for the sake of looking. As magicians, I think we have this fear of not knowing something. We have this fear that, you know, we'll have a conversation with someone and they'll mention a technique or a method and we don't know it, and that immediately makes us lesser a magician or lesser a mentalist, and that in itself is a reason why I think a lot of people do pirate, because they're not interested in the method, or they're not interested in performing the effect, they just want to know the method for that reason. Another big reason, and this is something I want to touch on in another episode, because I want to do a few episodes of like taboo things in Magic, but Magic ad copies and Magic trailers can be so misleading that you watch a trailer and it's either, more like a car commercial or a perfume commercial. We don't really see the effect. It's more like, something arty, and you're expected to drop like between 30 and 100 bucks on something you really don't know. Or as a magician, you know that something's not right. They'll show you a trick and it'll be like, the spectator selects a card and you instantly know what it is, and they show you the performance, but you can tell from the camera cuts that there's 2 or 3 phases missing. Now, obviously, you're not going to put the entire effect in a trailer, because if you did, people just reverse engineer it and work it out for themselves. But at the same time, by missing so much stuff out, especially things that are so prevalent, like in a trailer, it might appear that something is completely hands off. Everything happens in the spectator's hands, and then you buy it, and you realise that the spectator does something, you take the deck back, give it back to the spectator, take the deck back, and it's just lies. It's just lies. And I've been guilty in the past of pirating stuff just to make sure that I don't feel like I'm being ripped off. We're in one of those industries where we're paying for the secret, and there's a lot of gatekeeping around those secrets. If we were a little bit more open and honest with each other, we probably wouldn't have half of this. I've also asked people if they think there are any pros to piracy in general, and I've actually had some really interesting answers, because the people I've spoken to aren't just amateurs. I've spoken to some pretty big names in the industry, and again, I've said, especially in this episode, because it's very it's very triggering and they have very strong opinions, I'm not going to name names of anyone that I've spoken to, but one person in particular said that when they first found that their items were being pirated, they were really angry. They would contact the websites, they would contact anything to do with copyright, anything they could do to take their things down. But then they realised that the people buying these pirated downloads probably weren't going to spend full price and buy it anyway. So that's point one. Second, they then realised that it's a little bit more exposure for them. Maybe the reason someone was pirating it, and again, I'm not saying that piracy is good or that you should pirate things, but maybe someone pirated because they'd never heard of them. They pirate one thing, see what they like, and then the next time this person releases something, they buy it because they now know the brand, they trust the person. Also, you can't really pirate anything that comes with gimmicks. Obviously, we all know that there are also Chinese websites, especially, that do reproduce gimmicks and items, but they're nowhere near as prevalent as downloads. So again, it gets your name out there, and then you release something that is a physical object. Someone now knows your name, and they have to buy it. And finally, it's that case of, even those who do pirate on the regular would never tell their friends and fellow magicians that that's what they do. So if like two magicians were talking and they say, "Oh, have you seen this new release by Bran Crow? It works like this." They're not going to say they pirated it. They're going to say they bought it. So then their friend who thinks that's a really good effect goes on and buys it. So that opinion was shared by a couple of creators that I spoke to. It's also quite interesting that I found a lot of people say that the things they've pirated are things that were out of print or limited print, or things that are pretty much non-existent or hard to get hold of. One person said there was a set of VHSs that were released in the early 90s that they really wanted to get their hands on, and A, no one has a VHS player anymore. B, these things didn't appear to be released on DVD. So the only thing that they could do was pirate it. But that brings me to my last kind of point of, sometimes piracy helps keep things alive as an archive. There are people out there who have purely released things as a physical book because they're worried about piracy, and I completely get that. And then somebody who owns a piracy website takes that book and scans it in page by page and then releases it on their website. That person went through a lot of time and effort to pirate that. And again, I don't agree it, but there's now a digital copy out there. There's now something out there that books get damaged, especially like limited releases where someone releases 100, 200 issues. There's now that archive, that digital copy of it. Is it right for other people to buy it? Not really. Have I done it in the past? Yeah. Like I say, in the past I pirated a lot of things, which I have now gone back and tried to backfill and purchase as much of it as I possibly can. I'd be really interested for people to leave their comments and thoughts on piracy and how it's affected them as people, because I often see magicians kind of complaining and ranting about how piracy affects them directly, but I was just very interested in the fact that everyone I spoke to in the last week about this subject, even content creators themselves, said it wasn't that bad, that it had helped get their name out there, or it had helped push forwards an idea or a release. So, as I said at the beginning, I believe that piracy, for the sake of piracy, is bad. But I think maybe there are some pros to it. And again, it hasn't affected me. I've never released anything. I've never had my ideas stolen and reproduced elsewhere. So I'm purely commenting from an outsider's point of view based on the conversations that I've had with people. So as I said at the beginning of the video, I actually reached out to 4 of what I would consider the main offenders for piracy websites, the ones where they charge you minimal amounts to get new downloads and releases. And I did actually get a response from one. Now, again, I'm not going to tell you who it was I reached out to, because I don't want people using this as some kind of archive to find material. But I will tell you that the one that responded to me is named after quite a famous card magician. And that's what I'm going to say on it. I was quite excited when they replied. All my email said to these people is I would love to hear their side of the story, that I wasn't going to name and shame, I wasn't going to witch hunt or try and persecute these people. I just wanted to know what they thought. Out of the 4 or 5 that I reached out to, one replied, and they seemed really interested. I'm like, yeah, please send us your questions. I'd love to answer them. I wrote a list of about 20 questions, just asking in general why they had these websites, how many customers they had, did they feel that they were impacting the magic community, and I waited. And I waited a little bit longer, and then I got the response. Now, unfortunately, it wasn't the response that I wanted, but it was similar to the response that I expected. I actually kind of expected them to tell me to get lost, but what they actually said was, "Dear sir, I would love to answer your questions. In order for me to do so, please send $500,000 USD in Bitcoin, and I will answer each question." Now, obviously I didn't do that, but that just shows you the kind of people who are running these websites. Obviously they didn't expect me to do that, but it shows they're trolls. They're people that really don't care about the magic community, and I wouldn't be surprised if they are people who don't even do magic or have any knowledge of it. There's someone who's seen a niche in a market and has gone, yeah, we'll grab on that. That's my thoughts on piracy in general. Hopefully you can understand that I'm not condoning it, but at the same time I'm trying to keep an open mind on, is there parts of it that do help the industry. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm definitely going to do some more of these. So I didn't say this last time because I didn't want to be that guy, but if you do like and subscribe, it will help to boost the channel, and I think there's the little alarm bell that you can press as well, which will let you know when I release new content. My plans are for the next few weeks for Fridays to release some videos on taboos in Magic. So, as well as commenting below your thoughts on piracy, if you just let me know what you think some of the taboos are. I've got some other ideas for some videos a bit more lighthearted and a bit more friendly, not quite so deep. So again, my name is Brian Crow. I will hopefully see you soon. Check out the description for some links to other bits and pieces. But take care of yourselves, and I will hope to see you in the future. Peace.